Yeah, coming to you live in my pajamas, eating Pizza Hut. This is a book review. I have to be more professional. I'm just going to give people a little bit of time to come on for the book review. This is going to be a really good one. I'm super excited about it. So I'm just going to give people a little bit of time so that we could chat about this book. In that time that I'm going to give people to come on, I am going to finish this amount of pizza. Ready, go. Imagine you're just clicking onto this for a book review, and this is like the first 5 minutes of what you see. How would you feel? I'm clicking away instantly. Like, girl, when does the book review start? I put my pizza in the oven to reheat. It's giving crispity crunchity. Okay. Hello, everyone. I have some house announcements. First things first, everybody knows that I love Fresca. I just found out, I don't know how late I am to this. I just found out that Fresca makes vodka mixers. This is not a drill, okay? They have them in different flavors, mixed berry, pineapple. I don't even drink like that. I have to try it. It's a must try. Okay. That's all of the announcements. All right, y'all. I have so many notes from this book. This book is called The Mountain Is You. It is by Brianna Wiest. And again, if you are watching Depression Nest, then you know I'm trying not to accumulate more stuff because clearly I'm surrounded by stuff. But so that being said, I listened to this book as an audiobook. And first I want to talk about the narration. The narration was cool. It was a couple times where the lady was saying minutiae. And I, like, the first time I heard it, I was like, minutiae. And then she said it again later on in the book. And I was like, have I just been saying that word wrong this whole time? That's the only thing that I had to complain about. So other than that, narration was cool. I forgot the narrator's name. I didn't write that down. But I have so many notes. I basically rewrote the book. So let me see. Somebody said something. What the heck footage? No, I love the book. She read me for filth. She read me down. Okay. Okay. So let's get into it. The book opens up talking about how even in nature, things have to break down in order to have a rebirth. So she talks about, like, a volcano has to erupt, a star eventually explodes, or whatever that's called. And sometimes, like, a forest has a fire, and then, like, things regrow after that. And she was saying, breaking down doesn't make you imperfect. It makes you human. And a lot of times when your back is against the wall, that's when the big idea happens. That's when the creativity clicks, and that's when you start moving in the direction that you're supposed to be moving in. So I actually wrote down the chapters for this one. I didn't do that for the last one because I don't know why, but let's get into it. Hold on. I have my notes over my comment section, so I can't see if anybody's saying anything. Okay, nobody's saying anything. Let me just move this over. Okay, boom. Okay, so yeah, this book, she read me down. Okay, now chapter 1 is called something about how self-sabotage is a hidden fear of something else. Okay, so ooh, we. Okay. So, first off, she starts by saying self sabotage is one of the first signs that your inner narrative is outdated, limiting, or simply incorrect. Um, your self concept is an idea pieced together by inputs and influences from those around you, your parents, your experiences, your peers. And it's difficult to adjust because of your brain's pre existing beliefs, because your brain's pre-existing beliefs get confirmation. So, anybody that's in therapy or that's been in therapy for in the past or whatever, you probably know about limiting beliefs and how all of that stuff works and how you're trying to you tell yourself these stories that just are not true or that you have breathed some truth into. Like, this is a story that you tell yourself that your brain now thinks is actual and factual, but in reality it may not be. It may just be like something that you are making up in your mind. And she's saying the reason that you might be making up something in your mind is to protect yourself from something else. And sometimes that something else is not even related to what you're protecting yourself from. Anyway, we're going to get into it. Okay. So she said, at one part, she said, if you find comfort in food, you really should be asking yourself, what is it that you need comfort from? Okay, because hold on. Because I remember one time I was with this ex. He was terrible, right? But this one we were still together, and we was in the middle of an argument, and I just grabbed like cookies. We had like a thing of cookies. I don't know what kind of cookies, and I was eating the cookies in the middle of the argument. And he was like, "You always start eating when we get into it," and he gonna say, "I like that. That's so cute." Huh? I'm trying to soothe my spirit. Okay, you're bothering me. Cookies in the middle of the argument. I bet that was good too. Something about being mad and hungry. It just does it for me. Anyway, um, okay, so the unknown is the ultimate loss of control. This will be uncomfortable when people enter this state of discomfort. Okay, hold on. When people enter this state of discomfort, they think they're doing something wrong or that it's a sign to stop, but it's simply a matter of psychological adjustment. Okay, so she talks a lot about, and I'm going to use the mountain as as the metaphor that she is wanting it to be. Analogy? No, metaphor. Yeah. So imagine that you are at the base, the foot of the mountain. This mountain has just appeared in front of you. It has almost morphed in front of you, right? So you're like, okay, I'm gonna climb this mountain. Boom, you start climbing. And then you get about maybe 10 steps up or whatever, And then you look back and be like, I've gone nowhere. I've done nothing. I can still abort. You know what I'm saying? Like I can still jump off of this because I got a long way to go. Very much giving uncomfortable, very much giving this gonna be too hard for me. Your brain is telling you to stop. Everything in you is telling you to stop. But there's like one little piece that's saying, no, this is what we have to do to like keep going. But everything in your body is telling you to stop. She's saying, if that's the part that feels uncomfortable when you are changing yourself, um, you don't know what it's going to be. So there's like this air of um the unknown, and that is what brings in the discomfort. And she's saying it's simply a matter of psychological adjustment. And so what a lot of people do, she gets into this later on in the book, but she was saying a lot of people um they basically try to do it all too fast. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I'm changing the way that I'm eating," and like, boom, on Monday, and they just stop eating, all of their favorites, and then they think like, "Oh, this is a lifestyle change. I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life," but they stop everything like super abruptly. And oh wait, y'all, I don't even got my microphone on. See, y'all can't be letting me get on live without this mic. Is this better? Me. Hello, hello. Is that better? Hello, me. Okay. I don't know if that's better or worse, but I'm gonna pretend like it's better, and I'm gonna just keep going. Okay. So hold on. Now it might be pointing to my stomach gurgling. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So wait, was I in the middle of something? I did not take my ADHD meds today, so this is gonna be crazy. Oh, so the person that's starting the diet, they started it all at once. They told themselves that it's going to be a lifestyle change, but in actuality, what happens is because they did it so abruptly, they aren't used to all of the changes that they had to make at once. So eventually something's going to break, and you'll just slowly revert back to your old habits, to your old ways, because those are the things that you have set up as habits. Those are the things that are habitual for you. And so even though you told yourself like, I'm changing all of this all at once, and you might do well for like, 30 days, maybe even 60 days, like eventually some of those old habits are going to creep back, and they are just going to morph into your old life, whatever you were doing before. The majority of the time. Probably some people can like change immediately and like stick to it forever. Me, as far as me, no, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so, oh, she said this a whole bunch of times. She said, even if we're seeking happiness, we don't look for it in new places. Okay, now follow me. She said, what we're actually seeking is something we're super used to. Okay, now let me break this down, because homegirl said, homegirl really sat there and said, and this made so much sense when I was listening to it. When we're seeking happiness, we're not imagining something completely different, because you probably can't even imagine what that would be like. Like you have maybe an idea, a fantasy of it, but like what we're seeking is something that we're already used to, but like a better version. It's like, oh, still driving a car to work. Maybe it's a better car. We're still going to the same job. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're still doing things that we're used to, like the happiness that we're seeking. we can't imagine what it is over the mountain. Like when we try to like peek up, we got to get to the top of the mountain and then come over it for us to know what that is. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Uh she was just dropping bars sometimes. Like she said, what you believe about your life is what you will make true about your life. I was like, bars. Like that's crazy. And then right, WTH footage. What the heck? Limiting thoughts. Okay. I can't read everything because I'm telling y'all, when I tell y'all I almost wrote the whole book. Okay, she said, what you believe about your life is what you will make true about your life. Did I say that already? I did. Okay. Stop being in denial about your personal state of affairs. If you think you can do better in life, you might be right. So she spent a little bit of time saying that like there is something like an internal switch or like an internal desire button that a lot of us are ignoring. So basically, like, say you've been working a job for, 20 years or whatever, you've hated it since the 6th month. You know what I'm saying? You've been there for 20 years, but you've always hated it. And you've always, there's been something in you the whole time that's been telling you, I need to find another job. I don't need to be here. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. But you've been there for 20 years. And so not only are you stuck, well, not only do you feel stuck, but your habits probably are keeping you stuck because you're just so used to it. It's kind of like one time I was at a job for 7 years and I really wanted another job, but I was so used to the bad things about that job that I was nervous that I would go to a different agency. I work in advertising. I would go to a different agency and there would be worse things. I was like, I'm used to the BS that is here. I can put up with so and so's attitude. I can put up with this, that. But if I go somewhere else and it's worse, that's gonna be crazy. Like I did that to myself. That was voluntary. So I was like, I was keeping myself stuck because of all the like what if and like, oh, worst case scenario. And she gets into worst case scenario. I'm real bad at worst case scenario thinking. Yeah, she ate me up. The whole book, she was just eating me up. Okay, so now this is for y'all. This is for y'all. The greatest act of self-love is to no longer accept a life you are unhappy with. Ooh, let it settle. Let it sink in. If you are in a terrible relationship, but y'all been together for 11 years, I mean, we might as well stay together. I'm just, I don't like how he treat me, but we just been together so long, you know what I'm saying? I'm just so the greatest act of self-love is to no longer accept a life you are unhappy with. I wonder, why is it that a lot of us accept unhappiness in certain situations? And as I was listening to this book, I was thinking about like, why did I stay in that crappy relationship for 7 years? And ultimately, that guy that I was with, he started like feeding me lines. Like he would always say, well, if I got you, I could always get better than you. That was like one of his classic lines that he would say like constantly. And at first I was like, what's better than me? And then I started comparing myself to other women, being like, oh, her waist is smaller. Does that make her better than me? Or like, oh, her hair is prettier, or oh, her skin is nicer. And then boom, now I feel like there's so many other better options for people. Why would they pick me? So now I'm staying with him because I kind of feel like that's the only thing that I can get. Does that make sense? And if I was practicing self love, as soon as he said that for the very first time, I should have been like, go get it. What you doing here? If you think you can go get better. Leave me alone. What are you talking about? That's what I should have said. I didn't. You know, I think we were together from 19 to 26. So 19-year-old, 20-year-old Tracy was just like, what's better mean? I don't know. What does that mean? Why do you want somebody else? Terrible. And that stuff that he was saying to me, it like stuck. I still believe some of those things because they were like implanted in my brain. So that thing really stuck with me. The greatest act of self love is to no longer accept a life you are unhappy with. However, that doesn't mean like, oh, just give up everything all at once, like we talked about before. You're going to have to start making some moves, though, to climb that mountain. Whatever you're unhappy with, now we got to start putting our little, what you call that thing, that ice pick thing that they be, sometimes you got to beat it in there to climb up. And then they be sticking their little spiky feet in. You know what I'm saying? We got to start doing that because that's going to be tough, right? That's the tough part. Sometimes people just be thinking, oh, I'm climbing a mountain. It's not like this. This is not how you climb a mountain. You got to be. Sometimes you just walking because it's maybe a flatter path. And sometimes it be straight up. And you got to. I just imagine me trying to climb a mountain. Listen, my arm strength is not the greatest. So, yeah, I'm definitely going down. Okay, so the next thing is hitting rock bottom is when most people can finally change because they never want to feel that way again. And then she hit me with your new life. Hold on, listen, everybody. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. Let it sink. Let it settle. Mm-mm. Your new life. And then I remember on this part, she was saying, like, some of these friends ain't gonna make it. Some of these people that you might talk to them every day now in your new life, they might not make it. They might not make it over the mountain with you. Imagine having to carry all these people on your back and climb the mountain. Some of them people are gonna have to, that's their weight. They gotta fall off. Ooh, oh, we. They gotta fall off. And some of them gonna jump. Some of them ain't gonna like the moves you're making. And they gonna just disconnect. Let me disconnect myself. Bye, girl. Cause I'm finna get over this mountain. It's a new life over there waiting. And I ain't looking back. I'm not gonna climb the mountain back over again to come back to my old self. Please. No. I worked too hard. Hello? I worked too hard to get over the mountain. And now I'm on the other side. You're gonna have to fall off, or I'm gonna have to cut your cord. Okay. Now, she gonna say, all you're going to lose. Listen. Hold on. Hold on. Now, I don't know what Brianna was on when she wrote this here. She was on one. She was on one. She said, all you're going to lose was built for a person you no longer are. So you're thinking about it wrong, right? Because people be like, oh, well, I don't want to do that because Z, like he been there for me this whole time and da da da. And then like if I go over there, like I know I'm gonna get a better job, but I'm gonna leave da 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 over here. Like I can't do that. And then you know how people be like, well, what do you have to lose? And you know, people just be like, oh, you don't have nothing to lose. Guess what? Even if you did have something to lose, what she say? All you're going to lose, it was all built for somebody that you ain't gonna be no more. Ooh, ooh, I don't know. That was she ate me right on up with that. Cause I be trying to imagine like a life that is different. You know, I'm going through like cleaning my house out and like I'm imagining what it would be like to come in here and be like, oh, it is so relaxing. Everything is clean, everything is in its place. I low key can't even imagine it because I just feel like it's always going to be something out of place. But later on in the book, she gets into that. Okay, boom. So now we in chapter 2. That was chapter 1. So now, after she just talked about all of this, self-sabotage being a fear, being a hidden fear of something else. Now, chapter 2 is called There's No Such Thing as Self-Sabotage. And I was confused at first. I was like, huh, girl, we just spent a whole chapter talking about what self-sabotage is. Um, but when she got into it, I was like, okay, I get what she's saying. She's saying self-sabotage is okay. First of all, let me read what she wrote. I mean, what she said. Self sabotage is not a way of hurting yourself, it's a way of protecting yourself. Okay. And then she also said, you don't have big problems, you have big attachments. So, some of the things that you think are problematic in your life, some of the things that you wish you could change, you are secretly attached to. Hello? You are secretly attached to, and you might not know why. You might think that you don't deserve better. You might, there's always like a secret reason, right? So what in this chapter, the reason she's saying there's no such thing as self-sabotage is because really the reason you're sabotaging yourself is something else, right? It the effect of it is self-sabotage, but the cause of it is something else. And so that's what she's getting into. Okay, so there was a lot. This chapter was like basically listing all of the reasons why you might be self-sabotaging. So I'm not going to go into all of them, but I'll list all of them, but I'm not going to go into all of them. So resistance, hitting your upper limit. Now, hitting your upper limit was interesting to me because you know how people be like, oh, to today drained me. You know, I have reached my limit. I can't do no more. But it be most of the time it'd be like a negative thing. You know, it'd be like, oh my God, I'm so spent, I'm tired, da da da. But your upper limit is that things are working out and they keep working out. And now you have reached a point where you are comfortable. You have been making the moves, doing the things, and you are comfortable and you're feeling successful. And then you're like, uh oh, this is too good. Okay, some shit is about to hit the fan. All right, something is afoot. Now, as a worst case scenario thinker myself, I feel this way often, especially in relationship. I'll be like, "Oh, this guy is great. He's amazing. Like I really enjoy his company." And then I'll finish a date and be like, "Oh my god, I really like him." And then I'll be like, "He's evil. He's got to go." Something is wrong. Okay? Something is really wrong because I like this person. You know that Alicia Keys song where she was like, um, what'd she say? If you could love somebody like me, you must be messed up too. Right. So what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I don't understand. And then I spend the whole like beginning period of our relationship trying to figure out what's wrong with them. And then when I feel like I think I got it, I'd be like, okay, can I put up with this or no? But that might not even be it. I just be trying to come up with something. You know what I'm saying? So she said, the amount of good you're comfortable having in your life, that's your upper limit, right? So when you begin to surpass that upper limit, you want to come back down to a level of happiness that you're comfortable with. So your upper limit is like so great. And then when you get to passing that upper limit, you're like, oh, imagine you're a bird. Okay. Imagine you're a bird and you always fly at this same level, right? Over the ocean or something, right? And then this one particular time, one of those big whales comes out of the water and get real close to you. So you gotta fly a little higher. And then once you fly a little higher, you be like, oh, it's kind of scary up here. You like, oh my gosh. And then now this your new normal because you up here now. Because you're not gonna fly back down there because the whale might get you every single time. You know what I'm saying? So now you up here now, you got to get used to being up. You got to get used to being further up than you were before. Down here was your comfort zone when you was flying around. Now you're up here. You're good. You're safer. The whale is not going to reach you up here. But you got to get used to that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the vibe that I think. Okay. The next one is, she said upper limits are a great sign, but you have to slowly acclimate to your new normal. Right? Otherwise, it feels too jarring. It feels like, oh my God, I gotta like go back down to like what I'm used to, which you don't want to do. Okay. Uprooting. I'm trying to see if any of these, like, I don't want to say all of them. Okay, I'll talk about uprooting. Oh my gosh. Uprooting, you're not allowing yourself to blossom. You're only comfortable with the process of sprouting. Now, when she said that, I had to run that back. I rewound that part maybe 2 or 3 times because I was like, you're not allowing yourself to blossom. You're only comfortable with the process of sprouting. Because in my head, I was like, oh, the sprouting part is like when the seedling like first comes out of the dirt and it's like ding, right? And then the blossom is the flower that blooms like after that, right? And so basically she's saying you like the beginning. You're always into the beginning. And this is, I think, true for a lot of ADHD people. ADHD people love the dopamine hit that we get from starting a new project. And it's like, oh, this is great. I have this great idea, da 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 da. Boom, we're sprouting. And then when it takes that extra work to actually blossom and make the thing be great, I don't want to do that part. She said, you're always just beginning a new chapter, but you're never finishing it. You have to recognize that pattern and get clear on what you really want. And the clarity is the key. You have to be clear and determined on what the right path is, and then make a plan for how you can thrive, not just survive, right? Not allowing yourself to grow too much out of fear. Exactly. Like, everybody gets super excited. People be having these little business ideas like, oh my God, I got a business idea. Oh, it's going to be so good. You make a website, you get all the Instagram, social media handles and everything like that. And you might post two times and then be like, this is a lot. Today drained me. But you're not putting the work in to keep, like, your idea could have been a good idea, but you gave up. You got your dopamine hit from the beginning and like the creation of it, and then you gave up. That's me. I do that all the time. Okay, boom. Perfectionism. Tammy said, mind you, I just got up in here. I did not come up in here to get dragged like this. Okay, sorry. Because I'm telling you, this whole book was dragging me. She read me for filth the entire time. Okay. So the next one, now we're talking about, if you're just arriving, we're talking about how there's no such thing as self-sabotage, because really there's reasons behind why you're sabotaging yourself. And now we're getting into the reasons. The next one is perfectionism. Setting unrealistic expectations of what you're capable of, or what your life should be. It holds you back from showing up and trying or doing the important work in your life. When we are, listen, when we are afraid of failing or appearing not as good as we want others to think we are, we end up not even putting in the work to become that good. Now, listen, I have a really big problem with this. Now, I actually underlined the appearing not as good as we want others to think we are, because here's the thing. I be having good ideas. I'm a creative person. I, you know, I have a lot of creative ideas. I'd be scared to see them through because I know that I can't do them. What's living in my mind never sort of comes to life in real life. It doesn't actualize in real life. It's always something a little wrong. It's like, that's not what I was imagining, but okay, I guess. I guess it's okay. And then boom, as soon as that little thing is wrong, I just be like, okay, the whole project is trash. I don't know if y'all know this, some of y'all might not know me that well, but I created a web series called On Everything. It's actually on my channel. You can watch 3 episodes. But I put out the first 2 episodes pretty close together, maybe like a month apart or something like that. I only filmed 3 episodes. I wrote 6, I filmed 3, and I released 2. And then last December, 5 years later, after the other 2 came out, my therapist was like, Tracy, you have to finish something. So pick something to finish and finish it. And I picked the 3rd episode of my show On Everything. I'd never released it because it had audio issues, and I was editing the whole thing myself, and it was very hard to figure out I'm not an editor, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just know a little something. And it was so hard to figure that out that I scrapped the whole idea. And people kept asking me, when's the 3rd episode coming? What's happened to the 3rd episode? It had an issue. 5 years later, dropped it. And guess what? It's my favorite episode. Out of the 3, that's my favorite episode. It's like the one that makes me laugh out loud. So anyway, I really struggle with this. As a recovering perfectionist, a quote from my friend has helped me tremendously. Done is better than perfect. Yeah, they always say, like, what's the saying? Like, progress is better than perfection or something like that. Oh yeah, she said that. She said, instead of perfection, focus on progress. If you don't get started, you'll never arrive. Hello. Ow, I knocked really hard. Hold on. I didn't mean to do that. I really thought my head was going to be soft right there. I don't know what I was thinking. Ugh. Okay. So the next one is limited emotional processing skills. I won't get into that one. Thank you, Katie. Justification is basically excuses. She goes into like how your life is measured by your outcomes and not your intention. So you could be like, oh man, I was gonna do such and such. I ain't never get around to that. Don't count. What Brandy say? Almost doesn't count. Okay. Now listen, what you was gonna do and what you did, that's 2 different things. Okay. And she's saying that your life is only measured by the things that you actually did. The things that you took some time to, focus on and actually finish. That's what you did. That's what your life is gonna be measured upon. Not at your funeral, they're not gonna be like, oh, well, she always wanted to no. They're gonna talk about the stuff that you did, not the stuff that you wanted to do. Okay. The next thing is disorganization. Now, this is what she read me for filth, because y'all know my whole house is a mess. So she was reading me down, okay? Basement. She said, She said, by leaving our lives and spaces in disarray, we're creating chaos that serves an unconscious purpose. Now, I'm going to get into what that purpose is. She said, a clean, organized space is essential for thriving. That's the part. Listen, listen, listen. If you get uneasy when things are clean and organized, it's because when things are in order, now there's nothing left for you to do but focus on you and what you need to get done and what you need to handle. When we leave our space messy, we're always a few tasks away from stepping out and showing up for ourselves. Now, here's the thing. I don't know how good my mic is, but if you just heard that, no, you didn't. My stomach just made a noise. She read me for filth right here because I have always said this in therapy. I have always said that this is the like analogy that I use in therapy. I be like, in my head, it seems like there's like an island that's far away, but I can see it. You know what I'm saying? That's the island of happiness, right? So it's so far away. And sometimes I get really close to it. I'm swimming. I get really close to it. And then something happens and pushes me further back. And I feel like I'm constantly trying to get there, constantly trying to get there. But the thing about it is, I'm always afraid that if I get to the island, what if I get to the island and I'm still not happy? That's a fear. That's a fear that I have. And because my place is a mess, and because my space, all of my spaces are messy, I always have something that is sort of like a physical or tangible reminder that I'm not on the island yet. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh no, like I got so much going on. Like I'm not on the island. Like I'm not happy. It is a very like, it is in my face that I'm not on the island yet. And therefore I do not have to, like, I haven't reached it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, it's cool because I haven't reached it yet. My place is still a mess. Now, what's going to happen when my place is all the way together? It is so, that's the part. It's scary for me. I'm going to be honest with you. It's scary for me. I have an idea for a business and I was just watching a video on how to get started before I hopped on the live. Definitely needed this talking to today. Yes. It's like, we have to start thinking about like, what if these ideas are placed in us for reasons instead of like, oh, I have an idea. I'm a see, and then you really don't like work on it or whatever. Like, what if somebody told you that idea was given to you for a reason? Like it could have been given to anybody. Anybody could have had that idea. And maybe some other people have the same idea, but maybe I just kind of feel like maybe there's like an idea inbox generator sender thingy, and it only goes out to certain people. Only goes out to the people that is supposed to get it. You know what I'm saying? You were CC'd. So what you're gonna do? Okay. So anyway, for the disorganization one, she said to start slow and make a routine that helps you maintain and create systems to help you feel more in control. Now, my home hasn't always been messy. There have been periods in my life where the whole house has been clean. I may have had some overstuffed closets, but there have been periods in my life where somebody could stop by and I'll be like, yeah, girl, just come on in, come over. And the house is clean. This is back when I had dogs. And I do feel like when I think back on those times, I do feel like I was in a better place. I do feel like I was having more fun. I was going outside. I was having more company. I was doing more things. So I just have to focus on like the change that I want for myself. And like she said, like find a routine, take it slow, and then just like create the systems that work, the maintenance systems that work, and like keep it up, basically. Okay, the next one is attachment to what you don't want. I'm not gonna go into that one. Judging others, self-explanatory. Pride, self-explanatory. Guilt of succeeding. This one and the next one are kind of, I understand them. I don't know if I have guilt of succeeding, but some people might feel this way. She said, in a world of so much grief, who are we to have everything we want? You know what I'm saying? Like when you start becoming successful, you realize that you actually felt comfortable having less. Like now that you have more, you realize that your comfort level was actually in that you were more driven because you wanted things, right? But now that you can get anything you want, say like you got your dream job and you make so much money that you're not at a place of need or want of anything anymore, and now you're like, ooh, I might need to go back down. I don't know if y'all watch these on YouTube, but there's this who does them? There's like I retired at 39, those videos or whatever. There was a black guy. He retired at 39. He travels and he lives in different countries in his retirement or whatever, right? The video I saw, he was in Dubai, and he was saying his like journey of salary. And is it CNET? Does CNET do that? I don't know, but he said, oh, my first job I was making like 40,000, and then I went to 60,000, and then I went to 100 and whatever. I think he said like 80,000, 130,000. And then he said he had a few huge jumps where he went from like 100,000 to like 400,000 to like 700,000. Huh? And now he said, but if you watch the video, you listen to it, he said he still lived at the $200,000 mark. So he was making 700K, over 700K, and he was living at the 200K mark because he found out the place where he felt the most comfortable. He didn't want for anything. He had everything that he needed, and he could live and survive. And he stacked the rest of that money. CNBC. Okay, thank you. I knew it was started with a C. I was like, CNET? What was that? Okay, CNBC. And that's the other thing. Like I always said, if I had a husband, we would just decide who made them. We would figure out who made the most money, and then we would just stack the other person's paycheck, because I've been living on a single salary this whole time by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody else come in, like, let's do it together. It'll be fine. We can stack the rest of that money. Okay. So that's guilt of that's guilt of succeeding. Fear of failing. Y'all already know what it is. It's not even attempting something because you're afraid to look bad. Or she said it could also be a constant worry that something will go wrong. I have that. I have the worry that I always tell my therapist, I'm not one of the lucky ones. I'm one of the unlucky ones. Merch coming soon. Okay. And so I just feel like something's bound to go wrong. And like, do I even feel like going through it? Do I even feel like figuring it out? It's like always something, So that's fear of failing. And I had wrote down like, She said, we do this to shield ourselves from potential loss. And this fear only comes up when we find something we really care about and want to keep. And she said, the resolve for that is that it's worse not to try, which reminded me of the Jasmine Sullivan song, Lions, Tigers, and Bears, right? When she said, it's better to have loved than not to love at all. Not trying is worse than to stumble and forward if we do. Y'all know the song. But it's better to have loved than not to love at all. I'd be like, we can talk about it in a different video, but I'll be like, sometimes the risk don't be worth it to me. The risk don't be worth it. The hurt that you feel at the end don't be worth the risk that I took for them little few memories that we had. It don't be worth it to me. Anyway, that's a different video. Okay, downplaying is one of them, making yourself seem less impressive for other people to not feel threatened and like for other people to still like you. So that's when people be like, give you a compliment or like big you up or gas you up, and you be like, stop. It's not that, not too much. Like, don't, I just did a little something, no, this is humongous. You just won something, you just won a major award. And you like, I was just doing my job. Downplaying. No. Say thank you. Yeah, I worked really hard. Hello? I didn't think I had a fear of succeeding, but I realized I do. When you succeed, people always expect more of you and I'll be tired. Yes, exactly. I was fine without these painful memories. Period. So I definitely have a fear of succeeding too. And I always, like, even with this show, Depression Nest, like I could be doing so much more. But I kind of feel like if I give stuff like maybe 60%, then I could say I tried, but I'm not trying hard. If I tried hard and like put everything into it, and I am successful, this is why I think it's a fear of success and not a fear of failure, because I feel like if I gave it 100%, it would be successful. And then what? That's the part that scares me. And then what? But in reading this book, I realized that there have been so many opportunities for me to pour 100% of myself into something that probably would have led me to the same destination. For example, if I would have given my web series my all, if I give Depression Nest my all, I feel like those two things, even though very different, would probably lead me to the same destination of like an elevated creator type of person that I was wanting to be. But I always like hold myself down. Why? I don't know why I'm scared of that. I think like you, Tammy, I am just like very scared of like, you know how there's like a first season of a show and then the next season be trash. And I'd be like, ooh, what happened? Y'all got some new writers? No, I didn't have any more good ideas. Okay. Unhealthy habits. That's what she was talking about, like health and stuff like that. Being busy. There are people who are constantly busy. And she said they are running from themselves. Being busy is not a virtue. It only, listen, this is not me. I'm never busy. Okay. I don't like being busy. I'm never busy. She said, people who are constantly busy, it only signals to others that you do not know how to manage your time or your tasks. So you think that being busy all the time makes you look like so important and you have all these things to do. No, it makes you look like you don't know how to manage your schedule. And you don't know how to say no. Ooh. So think about that. Okay. I discovered you through Depression Nest and I love it. It's clever, vulnerable, and relatable. Thank you for sharing your journey. Oh, thanks, Tammy. Yeah. I be feeling like so crazy because, well, one of my cousins actually made me feel bad because she asked me like what room I was working on now. And I was like, oh, I'm still working on my bedroom. And she was like, Tracy, it's been like a year. What are you talking about?
was like, yeah, I'm still working on it. And she was like, okay. So I kind of feel like comparison, I don't know what the right word is, but I'd be feeling like all of these other like DIY and like decoration channels, even the declutter channels, like they get so much done in one video. And I just be like, hey guys, watch me clean this corner. And it just takes me forever. Anyway, I got to stop comparing myself and just like keep going. But that's the struggle that I have. Spending time with the wrong people who stress you out, people who make you feel insecure. You need to gradually phase out of relationships that make you feel less than. Again, going back to what she said early in the book, what she said, the greatest act of self-love, let me bold this. The greatest act of self-love is to no longer accept a life you are unhappy with. So that includes all of these folks. Them folks got to go. Okay. And then worrying about irrational fears. This is me. Hi, my name is Tracy, and welcome to my life. These are the worst case scenario people. And I think I became a worst case scenario person after my mom died. My mom died very suddenly. And it was like super unexpected after she had a knee replacement surgery and she had got a blood clot. She went to the hospital, got the blood clot like handled, but then she still passed away because she was bleeding on the brain after the blood thinners. And like nobody caught that. They didn't know. So it was very unexpected, very sudden. And from that point on, like before that point, I kind of felt like I was a lucky duck. Like I was like, yeah, I had a job right out of ad school. Like I graduated ad school on a Saturday. I moved to New York, started work on Monday. And that was in a recession. Okay. I was getting things. I was doing things. I was like moving and shaking. Boom. My mama died 2 weeks after I turned 30. And after that, turmoil, confusion, like one bad thing after another. And I think that's when I turned into a worst case scenario person, because it's just been like, if I put my all into something, the odds are it's not going to work out well for me. And so that really, it stops me from like wanting to be in relationships. Like I'm not on any dating apps. I don't want to be on any dating apps. Like I've just avoided men in general altogether. Haven't had a boyfriend in coming up on 6 years. And because the last breakup that I had was so like hurtful. And I don't want to do that no more. So I just like keep those things in the back of my mind. Basically, this lady was like, girl, you know, okay? She said, if you're a person that's right now in a bad relationship, the fear that you have might be that you're not worthy of a good relationship. So that's why people like stay in a bad one. Like I was talking about before, I stayed at that crappy job because I felt like the next job might be worse, you know? So she was saying the resolve for this is that you have to figure out what the fear is actually symbolizing. It's not the fear of the relationship. I think for me, it's just the fear of that sudden loss again, like experiencing that sudden loss again. And I don't want it. I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to volunteer for that. And I feel like getting into a relationship is volunteering for that. And I don't want to volunteer. It's going to have to trip me and hold me down and hog tie me and be like, you love me. That's what it's going to have to be. Because I'm scared. I moved into my house almost 5 years ago. I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm decluttering every day, still figuring out decor. Sudden traumatic losses make it so hard to keep going. I know. It's been, and my mama was like the catalyst. It's been one loss after another loss after another after another. And that's when I realized, like, oh, there was a shift in my life. Like something happened. I always like joke with God. I'm like, did I step on a holy bug on accident? Like, what happened? What did I do? I'm sorry. My God, like, why am I being punished like this? But yeah, it's been one thing after another after another. So anyway, those are the things that she said are the reasons for your self-sabotage, right? That's chapter 2. She said some other stuff. She goes into recognizing the behaviors. Um, like you have to recognize the things to know if you're self-sabotaging, like trying to spend time with people who don't like you, like really trying to impress people who you know don't like you. Um, caring about appearing okay rather than actually trying to be okay. She said there's something called a core commitment, and that is a primary objective for your life. And you have to look at the things that you're driven by and the things that you struggle with the most and look for the root cause in those things. And if some of them have like the same root cause, then that is your core commitment. Um, and she said something that was interesting to myself. To me, the core need is the opposite of your core commitment. And I was like, huh, that's weird. Because like, but then she started giving like examples. And one of the examples is if your core commitment is to be loved by others, then your core need is self-love. So like that's like what you need to do to fulfill the core commitment. Um She said overcoming self-sabotage is not just understanding why you're holding yourself back. It's being able to take action in the direction you want, even if it's triggering or initially uncomfortable. So then she goes into all of the feelings that come up as far as like those uncomfortable feelings like anger, sadness, resistance, all of that stuff, right? And she said you have to disconnect your action from your feelings. Like you can have a vision for what you want and just not feel like doing what needs to be done. But she said the feeling is really our body trying to be safe and stay in that comfort zone that it's used to. And she said you may not feel like you can take action, but you certainly can take action. And you're just not used to doing it consistently. So she was like, simply begin. Boom. Then that was just chapter 2. I just want to let y'all know that it's been an hour. Hello. I'm gonna fly through the next part though. Chapter 3 is your triggers are the guide to your freedom. Okay, so she talks about how things that trigger us and how we react to them. So she was talking about anger and how anger is really transformative and it helps you establish boundaries and like realize what you think is not right or like unfair, unjust, right? So if something triggers you to anger immediately, usually you can count that as a boundary of yours that you know is something that you don't like to be crossed. Okay. So then in the future, you can verbalize these things like, hey, do not call me a bitch. I will have a snapped episode if you do XYZ. Okay. Um, she said anger turns into aggression when you use that anger. When the anger doesn't stay within you, you start to lash out at other people. That's when it becomes aggression. Sadness, guilt, embarrassment, jealousy. Something interesting that she said is jealousy is a cover-up emotion. And she said it presents as anger, but it's really sadness. And I was like, ooh, that is so interesting, because if you really think about people that's jealous or people that's envious of other people, um, you could tell that they're really sad about something in their own life and they're mad that this person has it. But really the only thing that you see is like, oh, I can't stand her. She thinks she da 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 woo, woo, woo. But really it's like, what's missing for you that what she's doing angers you? She minding her business. Beyonce, major, major example. People hate Beyonce. People say, "Oh my god, I have a cousin that hates Beyonce." Um, it bothers my spirit because I just feel like, why is it that every time somebody is like super talented, y'all be like, "Oh, she only is so successful because she sold her soul to the devil." It's like, huh? She can't just be super successful? It's like y'all are negating all of the hard work of this woman been working since she was a child, and that's the only reason she. Anyway, it's giving jealousy to me. Resentment and regret. So resentment, um, when other people don't live up to what we thought they would be in our life. I struggle with this because I I just have this like fairy tale idea of like, especially with men, I just be like, oh my gosh, this is the person that I am imagining. And then when I meet somebody that's kind of close to it, but then they do some regular F boy stuff, I just be like, oh no, you just a regular dude. I thought you was like a super nice, like, Prince Charming type of dude. No, you just regular. But here's the thing, probably everybody is just regular. But I need to stop like placing my ideal image onto like random people. I need to just like look at who people are and accept them for who they are. Okay. So then she goes into chronic fear. And if you are always anxious or always worried about something, it really keeps you aware of it at all times. And I thought that was interesting. But she said it gives you a sense of control because you feel like I am keeping it in my mind so that it never happens again. But really, you are actively keeping it in your mind and holding yourself back, right? So I struggle with this as well. This book just really told me how messed up I am. That's it. I just have so many of these things like all in one. Um and but yeah, I struggle with this again in relationship because I'll just be like, "Oh, he seems nice." But no, there's something wrong. Like I'm always waiting for like the other shoe to drop, and I only do that with relationships. I'm not that way with like other stuff. Um I don't think. I'm trying to think of another example when I'm that way. But yeah, most of the time with dudes, I'll be like, I like him. Major ellipses, major dot 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 energy. I'll just be like, I'ma wait. I'm just waiting to see what messed up thing he has. That's a bar. Anxiety makes us hyper vigilant, and that is exhausting. Exactly. And so she's saying, like, we do it to have a feeling of control, but really it is the thing that is holding you back because you're constantly thinking about it and it's constantly ruminating and just replaying over in your head. Um, she said at one point she starts talking about how your subconscious mind is trying to communicate with you. And so she was like, examples of this are like going back to a person who really hurt you. She said, if you find something comforting about someone who hurt you, there's a reason for that. And that's what you have to figure out. why would you go back to somebody who hurt you super, super bad? Why would you like insert yourself back into that situation? There's a reason, and she wants you to figure that out. Now, she also said needing solitude too often could mean a discrepancy between who you are and who you pretend to be. This was a read for me only because I do think, when I go out, I'm I'm a pretty good time, people like to invite me to things. I think this is again a story that I have crafted in my mind. I think people invite me to things because I'm funny and I like keep like if I go to dinner, I'm like cracking jokes, like making everybody laugh, like I'm the entertainment for the night, unpaid entertainment for the night. And sometimes I just don't feel like it. Sometimes I do not want to put on a show. And so I just stay away from people. I isolate myself because I don't feel like acting like everything is okay. Sometimes I don't even have the energy to pretend. So it's interesting, but I kind of think that if I went out as my regular self, which I have in the past, and the only thing that happens is people say, "Are you okay? What's wrong? Like you don't seem like yourself." See, this is myself. I'm a layered, I'm a person of many layers, right? Sometimes I'm happy, silly, goofy. Sometimes I'm very um, quiet, reserved, like introspective. But if you have always known silly, happy, goofy, and then you meet introspective, Tracy, there's a problem. What's happening? What's wrong? And that's the part I don't even feel like dealing with that. So I just don't go, you know? Hey, Shannon. I do a lot of things alone because I don't want to have to perform so that others won't be offended by me being subdued. Exactly, Tammy. Exactly. Like I don't have the energy. And if I say I don't have the energy, and then sometimes people will still call me and I don't even have the energy to pretend on this phone call. So I'm not going to answer. Um but yeah, I hate that I feel that I have to even like act when I go out, but I am. I mean, I'm being honest. A lot of times, is I can liken it to when I model. I do some plus size modeling on the side, but I'm very much not a feminine model girly. Like I never wear makeup. I leave the house like this, like looking like this, like 100% of the time. And then people will be like, how is it that like when you step out on that runway, you're like a different person? And I'm like, oh, that's easy. It's acting. I'm acting. I'm acting fierce. I'm acting confident. It's a very easy act to put on because as soon as I get off the runway, I can release and not have to do that. I don't have to do that backstage. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if people think like the models are just like this way in their whole life and then they get on the runway and that's just who they are. And then they get off the runway and then that's still who they are. No, they could be for other people, but not for me. Okay, boom. Um, Self-defeating thoughts. Feelings don't inform you of the right decision to make. The right decisions create the right feelings. That was a bar. Um, oh, yay. Hey, Disco Duckling, you made it this time. Um, it's sad that we feel like we have to act. I know what you mean. You assume a character sometimes. Exactly. Same. Folks have stopped calling me because I will not answer. I mean, just text me at this point. Like, I could text. Why we gotta talk? I made it. I got the alert right. Okay, yeah. Okay, so and then she went into the differences between like intuitive thoughts and intrusive thoughts. and how like intuitive thoughts come from your best self and intrusive thoughts come from your most fearful self. And I thought that was interesting. And intuitive is like a rational thought, and intrusive is like an irrational thought. So moving on to chapter 4, that was chapter 3. Chapter 4 is all about like emotional intelligence. And she starts by talking about how dopamine is the pleasure of like wanting more. And we get so attached to the feeling of wanting that we can't switch over to the feeling of having. So that's what makes it uncomfortable for people once they have reached like a pinnacle of success, because they are so used to the drive and the dopamine of like reaching for the top. Once they make it to the top, they're like, oh, now what? Now what? Now what? That's the issue. Um, so she talks about going from surviving to thriving, and she talks about these what she calls micro shifts, and they are small changes that will eventually add up to a major change. So, like instead of like we talked about earlier, changing all your diet and exercise at once and like thinking it's going to stick as a lifestyle, change or whatever. She was like, if you're trying to drink more water, like just drink an extra cup, right now, or like just do something that only takes a small amount of effort. Like, oh, I want to exercise more, maybe hop on something for 10 minutes, just do something small, and eventually that 10 minutes will become easy and you'll be like, oh, I can go up to 15. And then it's like incremental, very tiny incremental shifts that eventually will become habitual. So remember in the beginning how we talked about how um we do these major changes all at once, and then slowly our original habits start creeping back in. This is like the opposite of that. What if you slowly changed your habits? They are more likely to become your new habits because you have slowly like integrated them into your life. Like, oh, I'm going to exercise for 10 minutes, that leads into 15, that leads into a half an hour. Now you're exercising for half an hour a day and you're used to it. By the time you reach half an hour, you're used to it. It's part of your routine now. And so it's not a sudden change, and it's not something that is going to like creep back out. And if it does start to creep back out, it might just go back down to an earlier time frame or whatever, like back to 15 minutes or back to 10 minutes. But the odds are is that if you slowly implement things into your life, they will be more likely to stick. She said, anything new. Oh, wait, sorry, I skipped some stuff. What you fear most is the one small likely threat that you cannot control. She said, if it's a big threat, you are likely to do something about it. But if there's a small threat that probably is going to happen, you feel like a loss of control. You can't do anything about it. And sometimes those are like, you never know when it's going to drop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a Beyonce album at this point. Like, when is it? No, don't know when it's gonna happen. Um, and so that's when you feel like that loss of control. Shielding the mind from adversity makes us more vulnerable to panic and chaos. But she's saying instead of trying to avoid adversity, she said adversity makes us creative. Adversity snaps our brain into coming up with solutions to problems. And so she said it makes you step out of your comfort zone and be a part of creating the life that you crave. So when your back's against the wall, that's when your mind starts going, and how can I do this? How can I do that? You start coming up with things that can get you out the gutter. You know what I'm saying? So she said that. She said anything that is new will feel uncomfortable until it is familiar. Let me repeat that. Anything that is new will feel uncomfortable until it is familiar. So, how do you make it familiar? You got to keep doing it. You know how people be like, "Oh, I went bike riding once. I didn't really like it like that. It wasn't my favorite." Do you want to be a bike rider? If yes, you got to keep doing it. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, boom. I thought this was very interesting. She said, positive events can bring on a depressive episode. She said things like weddings, having a baby, getting a new job. And the reason she said that is because you only think about the positive part of it when you are thinking about it, like, oh my God, I'm getting married. Oh my God. You don't think about the stress of planning it. You don't think about the arguments you're going to get in with your mother-in-law or your sister, or somebody can't make it and you mad at somebody. You don't think about all those little stresses that come along with the wedding. And so it could bring on a sense of depression because you never imagine the hard parts. You only imagine the positive parts. And now that you are going through it and you are um in the throes of it, you're realizing that this shit ain't as fun as you thought it was is supposed to be. And now you're second guessing everything because should it be this hard? When people say, should it be like this? Should it be this hard to get married? You Nobody shows that part. Nobody shows all of the rigmarole and the arguments and everything that they're having before they walk down the aisle. Um, she went into something called psychic thinking, which is like having a fantastical idea of what your life could be. Or it's kind of like those people that are like, I have a cousin that's like this, but I kind of think that she really is like intuitive a little bit. But she'll like meet somebody and she'll be like, I think this person is going to be an important part of my life. Boom. Gets married, has kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the psychic thinking could really be dangerous. This is what the book says. It could be dangerous because instead of having like, because when you think like what your life is going to be and you're like, oh, I can predict that like this is going to be great, as soon as something goes wrong, it seems like the whole thing is trash. Like, nope, this is not what my brain said it was going to be. So now instead of having just one bad day, the whole thing is trash. Like, this is not for me, can't do it, this is not what it was, what I laid it out to be. So basically, it's like she said, it's a series of confirmation biases. Worrying is a self-conscious defense mechanism. She had another bar right here. She said, we cannot beat fear to the finish line. We cannot beat fear to the finish line. You worrying about it, what that's going to do? You trying to, and here's the thing. Before my mama died, I used to have these like daydreams because I was fully awake, but I used to have these like daydreams where I would imagine her dying. Of course, I was imagining me being super old and having a husband and some kids, and it was like, oh, grandma's passing away. That's what I was imagining. But I would like be in full tears. Full tears. I always used to say, if I could be an actress, because the only thing I had to think about is my mama dying, and boom, I could start this boohooing, crying. But I would just like act it out because I was trying to I told myself that I was trying to mentally prepare for that feeling. But I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no preparing. Okay. All of that fake crying and boohooing that I did, trying to just like imagine what it would be. It was nothing I could ever imagine. It was so much worse that I could ever think of. So all of that worrying I did was for nothing because it was definitely so much worse. I could not have prepared in any way. And she said worrying shifts the mindset to expect the worst case scenario. So then chapter 5 is all about releasing the past. And she said, you'll never, again, another bar, you will never find peace standing in the ruins of what you used to be. She said, now you done went through all the trouble of blowing up the old version of you. Why are you still standing there looking around? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you still standing there looking around? Huh? She said, you got to let that go. Um, she said, when you start building, she said, you let go when you build a new life that's so exciting and immersive that you slowly over time forget about the past. Not that you're actively trying to forget about the past, but this just happens because this is your life now. And then you might see somebody and be like, remember when we da 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 da? I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that. That's not your life anymore. Simple as that. Y'all remember college? Anybody went to college? I'm like 25 years out of college. I don't remember it. I know I had a hell of a time. Okay. When I was in college, that was my whole life. Like games, clubs, sorority functions, dudes. Okay. That was my whole life. 25 years later, I hardly remember it. I be seeing people on Facebook and they be like, oh, remember da we had econ one. I don't remember you at all. I blocked people out. I don't remember. I have a friend. I graduated. I don't remember it at all. I have a friend. One of my best friends, actually, we went to high school and college together. We were roommates in college. And I use her as my memory keeper. She remembers people. She remembers the events and things like that. I don't remember anything. I once the traumatic things started happening in my life, I forgot everything before that. Oh, girl, I wish I had an amazing memory. Mine is trash. Okay. I'm finna end this for real. It sounds like, at the when you be at church and they be like, come on, we about to close. We about to close. We about to close. Let me finish this up. And they go on for like another hour. What you build in the aftermath of loss will be so stunning and so profound that you will begin to think that the loss was part of the plan. Ooh. That hit. That hit right there. That hit right there. What you build in the aftermath of loss will be so stunning and so profound that you'll begin to think that the loss was part of the plan. If this had never happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. Right? If such and such had never left me, I would never have found my husband. If this had never happened, I wouldn't have had this opportunity to meet this guy and get this job. Listen, and I used to be really like, why me, sort of thinking. And I recently started being like, if I never experienced loss and if I never experienced depression, I don't think I would ever have tried to form community in Depression Nest and find and help other people by being vulnerable myself. So like it sucks, but maybe that was the purpose of the pain. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's purpose to the pain, but it's hard to, think of that when you're actively going through the pain. But, it's easier to say that after you're over it a little bit. Okay. I'm just skipping things now because I told y'all I basically wrote the entire book. I have never taken this many notes in a book. If you're asking me if you want to know if I recommend this book, absolutely recommend this book. I actually do want to buy this book. I listen to it as an audiobook, but I think it's a good book to have in your library. Healing yourself is the most uncomfortable, disruptive, important thing you'll ever do. uncomfortable, keyword, disruptive, keyword, important, keyword. Healing requires you to be honest about how you really feel and then actually feel it. A lot of times people will be like, "Oh, I feel this way," but they refuse to like let themselves cry or let themselves emote any type of way. Um Okay, boom. Chapter 6, building the future. She talks about an exercise where you think about talking to a future version of yourself. Like, imagine that there's a version of yourself that is healed, older, wiser, has been through everything that you are currently going through, and they are on the other side of it. They're already on the other side of the mountain, right? Right now, you're at the base of the mountain. They're already on the other side of the mountain. And she's saying, what would the older version of you say to yourself? Like, just imagine what that conversation would be. And also imagine what would you ask the older version of yourself, because maybe those are the questions that you need to be working on finding answers to for the, to become the future version of yourself. She said, your most powerful self needs to be the CEO of your life. And then you can just constantly ask yourself, what would the most powerful version of myself be doing today? What would the CEO of Tracy have on the agenda for today? Okay, treat the most powerful version of yourself like the CEO of your life. She goes into setting up principles for your life, and principles go off of what you value and finding that's how you create the principles for your life. It's like all based on what you value. And then she goes on to talk about finding your purpose. And this was another bar. She said, when you're on your own path, the future won't be clear. Now, this was interesting to me. This was interesting, but it makes so much sense. When you're on your own path, the future won't be clear. If the future is clear, you're following someone else's blueprint. You're walking in somebody else's path. Ooh, baby. When she said that, I was like, wait. If somebody else has already walked this path, if you're following in their footsteps, okay? That, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes, so people got to pave the way for other people to come through. But if you following your own path, you might not know what's gonna happen next. Okay, so, and that's the uncomfortable part, right? Like, I think that's why people really like to follow someone else's path. For example, Issa Rae. Issa Rae web series. Web series gets purchased. Insecure. Insecure turns into production stuff, and a whole bunch of ventures that she's doing now. So now imagine yourself being in college and you're like, I'm going to do the Issa Rae path. That's the path that I've set for myself. I'm going to start with a web series. Then I'm going to go, hopefully that'll get bought. But you know what I'm saying? It don't work like that for everybody. So sometimes it's like, what if you did what you wanted to do? She was just doing what she wanted to do. Okay, then chapter 7, moving from self-sabotage to self-mastery. Talks about learning to trust yourself again. Inner peace is true happiness. Everything else is just a false means of trying to convince yourself that everything is okay. So inner peace is true happiness. Everything else is just you being like, I'm okay. I'm okay. You're not okay. She goes into like being mentally strong and the traits of mentally strong people. Stuff like taking responsibility for your outcomes. If you put energy towards everything you want to do, you have a radically different life experience. If you put energy. So that's what I was talking about before, how I only put enough energy to make things happen because I'm scared that I'm scared of what will happen if I put in 100%. But again, why am I holding me back? Nobody else is holding. Why am I holding me back? That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I gotta stop that. I gotta stop doing that. Um, know, this is important. Know that you are not supposed to feel happy all of the time. Hello? For all those people, when I go outside and I'm not happy, silly, goofy, Tracy, I am a person, a regular human. I do not feel happy, silly, goofy, Tracy all the time. And that's for any man that likes me too. And if you are a man that likes me and you want to talk to me because you think I'm happy, silly, goofy, Tracy all the time, you got another thing coming, sir. Real bad. Um, Discomfort is informing you that there is more out there for you and it's pushing you to get it. So when you are in a relationship that you are like, man, this is sucky. I do not feel safe and secure in this relationship. Your discomfort is telling you something. It's ringing a bell. Ding, ding, ding. It's time to get the hell out of here. Okay. When you are in a job and you feel like, man, it sucks. Your discomfort is urging you to move. Now it's up to you whether or not you're going to do it. But she's saying in the book, your discomfort is an alarm and it's ringing. Okay. Now it's up to you whether you just hit the snooze or you going to actually get up and move. Ooh, I might have just given my own little bar right there. She said this, and it had to sit with me for a little bit. Stop trying to be happy. Happiness is not something you choose. It is something you allow. Let's think about it. Let's think about it for a second. Y'all write in the chat what you think, like break that down in layman's terms, like make it plain for me. Happiness is not something you choose, it's something you allow. Something you allow. I'm still thinking about this one. Oh, because the next thing she says is happiness is your natural state. So you will always return to it. If happiness is your natural state, then you have to allow it to be present, maybe. Sometimes you don't allow yourself to be happy. Yeah. So especially if happiness is trying to be present and you're like, nah, I'm good. I feel like being right here today. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense. Okay. She said the wolf that wins is the one you feed. The wolf that wins is the one you feed. It's got the most energy behind it, baby. She said, so be careful what you think because it'll become what you feel and it'll become what you believe and that'll become how you behave and then how you live. You're feeding it. You're feeding it. When there is always a problem, there is always something to solve. Sometimes you've been in your depression or unhappiness for so long that you find comfort there. I agree. I really agree. And I really think that for me, it was I think how I got stuck in unhappiness or grief based depression is because I felt bad about being happy. I felt like I shouldn't be happy anymore. It was like, no, my mama died. Like anytime something good happens, or if I was laughing uncontrollably, I would instantly think about my mama dying and not being there. And I'll be like, oh, this isn't right. I'm enjoying myself. I'll be like, I'm enjoying myself too much to have a dead mother. You know what I'm saying? It's like I just felt bad. Every holiday, every New Year, I'll be like, well, here's another new year without my mommy. Yes, I feel guilty for being happy. Feel guilty. That's it. Um, she said, when you get to the end of your life, you'll see the mountains for what they are, gifts. Because everybody knows, if you listen to Tyler Perry's story or anybody, Oprah Winfrey's story, anybody's story that has like a start of hardship, they will say, if it wasn't for XYZ, I wouldn't be who I am today. You know, it's just like the mountain was present. They climbed over the mountain and now they are on this other side. Like, I'm actually visually imagining someone climbing a mountain and then there's like this whole like community of, oh, right over the mountain. Everything that you was wanting, just right over the mountain. And it's going to take a lot to get over the mountain, and up and down. Okay. But once you get over there, that's what you've been wanting. And so, you know how they say, keep your eye on the prize? It's hard to keep your eye on the prize when you really don't know what the prize is. Like when the prize is an emotion, like when the prize is just like a feeling that you crave, that you want to have. But I ultimately think that when you keep your eye on like what you want, you know, you might not know what it actually looks like, but you know how you want to feel. And I think that is the important thing of like, you know, you can keep your goals focused on feeling that way. You can keep your eye on doing things that help you feel that way, being around people that help you feel that way, and just eliminating everything else, right? Um, and she said, who you become in learning to climb your mountain will stay with you forever. And she said, that's the point of the mountain. And that's the end of the book. So I highly suggest, if you have not read The Mountain Is You, I mean, I did not go, I went over a lot, okay? But I didn't go over the whole shebang. You should definitely read it. The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. I don't know how she pronounces her Brianna name, but I listened to it on Audible. You know, it was cool. Narration was cool. I listened to it in 1.5 speed because, you know, and I highly recommend. Great book. I think somebody actually recommended that I read this for the next month. Oh, I got to tell y'all what the next read is. The next read for March, which I should have actually done. I should have actually did this for February, but I'm glad we read The Mountain Is You. But it is a book by Will Packer. It's called Who Better Than You? Okay. Who better than you? Now, the reason, hold on, it's going to start playing. I don't want it to start playing. I want the page. The reason why it looked like this, y'all. Who better than you? But you see all of these narrators. Now listen to this list. Will Packer, Regina Hall, Kevin Hart, Carmelo Anthony, Heather Packer, Shayla Cohen, Steve Harvey, Idris Elba, Ron Lipkin. So I'm like interested. It seems like it's going to be like more maybe about stories or life stories or whatever. But it says the billion-dollar Hollywood producer Will Packer provides a master mentorship by sharing secrets to success honed from working with the biggest stars in the world. Whether you're just starting out or ready to make a major move, Who Better Than You is a wildly entertaining roadmap to being successful in an unpredictable world. Featuring behind the scenes Hollywood lessons, empowering guidance, and indispensable encouragement. So he has like a little toolkit that I guess he goes over in this book or whatever. And he says, it's time for you to start producing your own blockbuster life by first believing there is no one more worthy of it than you. So that is March's book. It is Who Better Than You by Will Packer. So y'all go ahead, listen to it, read it, or whatever. The audiobook is 7 hours and 35 minutes if you listen on one speed. It is 5 hours if you listen on 1.5. So that is all. Thank you so much for joining me today for this book review of The Mountain Is You. I appreciate all of y'all. And I promise you, I'm feeling a little better recently, like for the past 2 or 3 days. So I am going to get back to cleaning, and Monday, going to get back to a clean with me video, and Thursday is probably going to be like a shopping video or something like that. But I just want to get back to like my regular cadence and, keep going. I feel sort of like inspired by The Mountain Is You, and I just want to like stay focused and really like see what happens. See what happens when I try my best. Which is crazy because that's something my mama always told me. She was like, I don't care how you do, as long as you just try your best. If you try your best and you still don't do that great, that's okay, because you tried your best. You know what I'm saying? But the part of it is you got to try your best. And right now, I'm not trying my best. So I am going to try my best and see what shakes, see what happens. To all of my depressy besties, if you have depression, you are not alone. And y'all stay tuned for more cleaning videos, more vlog type videos, shopping and DIYing and stuff like that. I am really excited about the future, and I just hope that once we get the ball rolling, it rolls us up the mountain and then rolls us back down the mountain, and then we through the mountain. But in order to stay tuned, you have to what? Stay here. That's right. I love you all, and I will see you guys on Monday. Yeah, today's Thursday. Yeah, I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye.